Snow was supposed to make Christmas magical, not make me accidentally claim I had a girlfriend to impress my boss. Yet that's exactly how I ruined my life at 8 a.m. in the middle of the company's holiday breakfast, while choking on a powdered donut like a budget-level reindeer casualty. And honestly, if my lie hadn't been so pathetic, I might not have ended up in the most confusing, heart-wrenching, beautiful mess of my entire existence. On that freezing December morning in New York City, I, Emily Carter, 26, chronically overworked advertising assistant, professional coffee fetcher, and amateur disaster magnet, was standing in a corner of the agency's lobby pretending everything was fine. It wasn't. The agency was buzzing with Christmas energy. Glittering garlands everywhere. Cinnamon candles. Mariah Carey threatening to burst through the speakers like some sort of holiday deity. And then my boss, the ever-powerful and terrifyingly polished Marion Foster, casually asked in front of the entire creative department, "Emily, are you spending Christmas alone again this year?" If the floor had opened up, I would have gladly thrown myself into the warm embrace of the building's heating system. But it didn't. Instead, my panic did what it always did. Hijacked my mouth. "I'm actually bringing my girlfriend home this year," I heard myself say. My girlfriend. The word escaped like an escaped convict tunneling through concrete. And once it was out, it was over. I could feel 50 pairs of eyes locking onto me like I had just confessed to owning a unicorn. Marion raised a perfectly manicured brow. "Well, that's wonderful news. What's her name?" Her name? Oh God. My brain performed a full system crash. And that is how I came to invent the fictional woman named Harper Quinn, whom not only did I not know, but apparently I'd been dating for 8 months according to the lie that kept spiraling and growing teeth. Harper was smart, successful, grounded, supportive, basically everything I wasn't. It was supposed to be harmless. Just something to get Marion off my back so she'd stop assuming I lived at home eating cold pasta straight from the fridge while sobbing over romantic comedies. But as Christmas got closer, my boss's curiosity grew. Bring her to the company Christmas gala. I simply must meet this Harper. That was when the universe, always dramatic, intervened. 3 days later, I met a very real Harper Quinn. She walked into the agency for a client meeting wearing a forest green scarf, and a confidence that didn't feel sharp or arrogant but steady warm. She pushed her dark hair behind her ear as she spoke to the receptionist. Her voice was calm, patient, amused in a way that made the cold December air shift around her. I froze. Completely. Absolutely. Catastrophically. Because she was exactly what my imagination had created. And when her eyes drifted toward me, something hot and electric curled beneath my ribs. Not just recognition, not attraction. Something far more dangerous, something whispering you're in trouble. She smiled politely. I forgot how to inhale. But the universe wasn't done taunting me. Not even close. At the end of the meeting, while I was still hiding behind my computer screen pretending to be invisible, my boss walked right over to Harper and said, "So you're the famous Harper Quinn I've heard so much about." I swear I levitated out of my own body. Harper blinked, clearly confused. I opened my mouth to fix it. To confess. To throw myself into the Christmas tree for dramatic effect. Anything. But when her eyes met mine again, something flickered there, understanding. Surprise. Then a quiet decision. She smiled at my boss and said, "Yes. That's me." And that was the moment everything changed, though I didn't know it yet. Harper waited for me in the elevator afterward, leaning against the wall with her arms crossed, the faintest smile tugging at her lips. "So," she said, "apparently we've been dating for 8 months. Should I be offended you didn't tell me?" I wanted to die. Instead I muttered, I panicked. I swear I was going to fix it. She studied me quietly, her eyes warm but sharp. Then she said something I didn't expect. "It's fine. I can play along for one night. Seems like you need the help." One night. Just one. But one night has a way of becoming much more when emotions are involved. And I was already too drawn to her for my own good. Harper showed up to the Christmas gala in a dress that made the room dim around her. She took my hand like she'd been holding it for years. She talked to my boss like she belonged in my life. She looked at me with a softness that I knew wasn't entirely pretend. Or maybe I just wished it wasn't. It was supposed to be an act. Except my heart didn't get the memo. And somewhere between the first fake kiss under mistletoe and the way she brushed snow off my shoulder outside the gala, I realized something horrifying. I didn't want this to end. But it had to. Because Harper wasn't really mine. And lies don't magically become truth, not even at Christmas. Or so I thought. That night as we walked out into the empty, snowy street, she said quietly, "You know, you're not what I expected." I looked at her, heart pounding. "What did you expect?" "A girl who lies about having a girlfriend," she said with a smirk. But then she stepped closer, her voice softening. "You're more vulnerable than you pretend to be." The cold air between us pulsed with something warm, something fragile. And right then, standing beneath the glow of the streetlights, surrounded by drifting snowflakes, I felt Ithope. Terrifying, impossible hope. But hope doesn't erase mistakes. Especially when the mistake is lying about a relationship with someone you're now accidentally falling for. The next morning, my mother called from North Carolina begging me to come home for Christmas. She missed me. The house felt empty. And she was excited to finally meet my girlfriend. Harper happened to walk past my desk just in time to hear the word girlfriend echo out of the phone. She stopped, raised a brow. "Still lying?" I groaned. "I didn't mean to. I swear I didn't think she'd ask about you." She looked at me for a long moment. Then she sighed, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. A gesture that somehow made my heart trip over itself. "Well, do you want me to come with you?" "No," I said immediately. Then I panicked. Yes. I don't know." Her laugh was soft. "Emily, breathe." I did. Barely. Eventually she said, "It's Christmas. No one deserves to face a family holiday alone while juggling a lie. If you want me to come, I will. No judgment." My breath hitched. "Why would you do that?" Her expression softened in a way I didn't understand yet. "Because sometimes people need a little help. And because I don't think you're as hopeless as you claim." And that was how Harper Quinn and I ended up in her car, driving 8 hours south toward a Christmas I was certain would end in catastrophic emotional ruin. Harper sang along to the radio softly. I stared out the window, pretending not to admire the way her fingers drummed the steering wheel. The sky was pale, the air sharp, winter stretching endlessly along the highway. We talked. About small things at first. Her work. My job. Her love for old Christmas movies. My habit of burning anything I tried to cook. Slowly, the air grew warmer between us. Comfortable. Then she said something unexpected. "For what it's worth, I don't mind being the person you lied about." My heart stumbled. "Why?" She didn't look at me. Maybe I liked the idea of being someone's safe place, even if it started messy. I didn't know how to respond. My chest felt too full, too tight. When we arrived at my childhood home, everything became real. My mother cried when she saw me. Then she hugged Harper like she was already part of the family. My sister squealed. My dad took her bags out of her hands before she could protest. Harper just laughed softly, her cheeks slightly pink from the cold and the attention. And somewhere inside me something shifted again, deeper this time. Because seeing Harper in my home didn't feel like a performance. It felt heartbreakingly natural. But reality has edges, and even the softest lies eventually cut. And I was running out of time before mine sliced everything open. Harper touched my arm later that night and whispered, "We're okay. I'm here." But she didn't know. She couldn't know. I wasn't scared of my family discovering the lie. I was scared of the truth I was realizing far too late. I was falling for her. Deeply. And I didn't know if she felt the same. The next morning, the sunlight spilled into the living room, brushing Harper's hair with gold. She was curled up on the couch, her scarf draped lazily across her shoulders, and a book in her hand. For a moment, I just watched her, my chest tight with something I didn't want to name out loud. This was real, I realized. Her presence here in my home, no longer part of the lie, it was a choice she had made. I cleared my throat, trying to sound casual as I sat down beside her. "Coffee?" I asked. She smiled, that same warm, almost mischievous smile that made my knees weak. "Only if you promise not to burn it this time." I laughed a little too loudly. "No promises." We moved to the kitchen, and as I fumbled with the coffee maker, Harper leaned against the counter, watching me. I could feel her gaze like a gentle hand on my shoulder, steadying me without touching. There was a quiet intimacy in it, one that made me both terrified and exhilarated. When the coffee was finally ready, she took a sip and closed her eyes. "Perfect," she said softly. "I'm impressed." I grinned, proud of the small victory. "See, I can do things right. Occasionally. Her eyes met mine, and something unspoken passed between us. It was small, almost imperceptible, but it sent a jolt through my chest. My mind raced. Was this more than just a game? Had the lie started to turn into something real? The day stretched lazily, snow falling outside in soft, shimmering flakes. My parents fussed over Harper endlessly, asking her questions, telling stories, and insisting she eat more. She played along with a warmth that made my heart ache with longing. I kept catching her glances, subtle, full of something unspoken, and each time, my stomach twisted with both hope and fear. By evening, the house had quieted down. My parents had retired to bed, my sister was in her room texting friends, and Harper and I were left alone in the living room, the Christmas tree lights casting a soft glow over her face. She was reading quietly, but I couldn't focus on the book. Instead, I found myself staring at her, trying to memorize every line of her face, the curve of her cheek, the glint in her eyes, the way her lips moved when she whispered words to herself. Finally, she looked up. "You're staring," she said softly, a teasing lilt in her voice. I felt my face heat up. "I'm not," I stammered. She laughed, low and melodic, and set the book aside. "It's okay. I don't mind." I swallowed hard. Her honesty, her presence, her warmth, it was overwhelming. I wanted to tell her everything, to confess that my lie had become something uncontrollable, something real. But fear held me back. Instead, I said the first thing that came to mind. "Thank you for, being here." She tilted her head, her eyes softening. "For me, being here isn't a big deal. For you, seems like it is." I nodded, unable to speak. My heart was too full, too exposed. There was a long silence, punctuated only by the gentle hum of the heater and the soft crackle of the Christmas lights. Then Harper reached out, her fingers brushing mine, tentative at first, testing the waters. When I didn't pull away, she intertwined our hands. And in that simple touch, the lie dissolved completely. For the rest of the night, we talked. Really talked. About our fears, our dreams, our childhood memories, our failed relationships. Harper shared stories of her life, of growing up in a small town in New England, of her love for art and winter evenings. I shared my own insecurities, my struggles in the advertising world, and my hidden wish to find someone who understood me without judgment. Somewhere between laughter and shared confessions, the walls between us fell away. The fake relationship, the lie that had brought us together, faded into something real, something fragile but undeniable. When the clock struck midnight, I found myself standing outside on the porch, snow crunching under my boots. Harper followed, wrapping her arms around me from behind, her warmth seeping through the thick coat. "Merry Christmas," she whispered against my ear. I turned to face her, and for the first time words felt unnecessary. Her eyes held mine, filled with tenderness and something deeper, something I had been afraid to hope for. I reached up, brushing a strand of hair from her face, and she leaned into my touch. Then, as if the world had finally aligned for us, our lips met. Softly at first, uncertainly, and then with growing confidence. The snow fell around us, glittering like tiny stars, and the city felt miles away. For the first time in my life, I wasn't pretending. I wasn't hiding. I was exactly where I was supposed to be here, with her, in the quiet magic of a Christmas night that had begun with a lie and ended in truth. The following days were a whirlwind. My parents adored Harper, and she fit seamlessly into the chaos of my family life. We decorated cookies, exchanged awkward but heartfelt gifts, and laughed until our sides hurt. Every moment together was a blend of tenderness and playful teasing, the kind that made my chest swell with happiness and disbelief. At the end of the week, as we drove back to New York, Harper reached over and held my hand. "Emily," she said quietly, "do you think, could this be real? Us?" I turned to her, my heart pounding, and smiled. "It already is." Harper laughed softly, leaning her head on my shoulder. "Good, because I don't want it to be anything else." Back in the city, our lives settled into a comfortable rhythm. The office, the daily grind, the cold winter streets, it all felt different now, brighter, warmer, because we faced it together. Every glance, every touch, every shared coffee or late-night call reminded me that sometimes, the most unexpected lies can lead to the most genuine truths. One evening, as snow began to fall again, Harper and I found ourselves on my apartment balcony, wrapped in blankets and sipping hot chocolate. The city lights shimmered below us, but my focus was entirely on her. I realized then that the Christmas lie that had started as a panicked escape had transformed into the best thing that had ever happened to me. Harper wasn't just a beautiful, charming woman who had appeared out of nowhere. She was the person I had been searching for without even knowing it. She leaned against me, resting her head on my shoulder. "You know," she murmured, "you could have just asked me out. You didn't need the lie." I laughed softly, kissing her temple. "Where's the fun in that?" She smiled, eyes closing, content. "I guess you're right. But next time, no lies. Promise?" I nodded, heart swelling with affection. "Promise." And in that quiet moment, with the snow drifting softly around us and the world hushed beneath winter's embrace, I knew one thing for certain. Sometimes love finds you in the most unexpected way. 7 Through a lie. The following weeks were filled with small joys and tender discoveries. Harper and I navigated our real relationship with careful steps, learning each other's rhythms, preferences, and little quirks. She liked her coffee with 2 sugars, never more. I liked listening to her laugh at stupid puns, even if they were terrible. We shared movie nights where we argued over which Christmas film was superior, and mornings where we tangled in blankets, pretending not to notice how close our hands kept finding each other. And there was the occasional lingering reminder of how our relationship had begun, the little lie, the charade, but instead of shame or regret, it became a funny anecdote we would quietly share with friends, a story of how fate sometimes needed a little push to work its magic. One Saturday afternoon, as we wandered through a bustling winter market, Harper stopped and turned to me, eyes bright with excitement. "Emily," she said, "I have an idea." I raised an eyebrow. "Oh no. Should I be worried?" She laughed, a sound that made my heart flip. "No. Just imagine this. You, me, a tiny cabin in Vermont, snow falling outside, fire crackling inside." I laughed, imagining it vividly. "And I suppose we'd need cocoa and cookies too, right?" Her eyes sparkled. "Exactly. And maybe, just maybe, we'd get a little Christmas tree to decorate together." I reached for her hand, squeezing it gently. "Sounds perfect." And in that moment, amidst the twinkling lights and the gentle hum of the market, I realized that the lie that had started everything was now irrelevant. What mattered was this, Harper and me, together, real and unshakable, ready to face whatever came next. Snow continued to fall that evening as we walked hand in hand, the city glowing around us, hearts light and full. I had no doubt that whatever challenges awaited, we would face them side by side, strengthened by the truth we had discovered, nurtured by the love that had begun in the most unexpected, magical way. Because sometimes the heart needed a little chaos, a little lie, to discover the most extraordinary kind of truth. The winter in New York stretched lazily, but the city never lost its magic for us. Snow blanketed the streets like frosting, and the lights shimmered in ways that made everything feel cinematic, like a scene carefully staged for a Christmas movie. But the best part? This time I wasn't pretending. There was no lie hanging between us. Harper was real, and so was everything I felt for her. Our days became a rhythm of quiet intimacy and playful teasing. Harper had a way of noticing the smallest details, how I twisted my hair when I was nervous, how I hummed under my breath when I was stressed, the exact way I liked my coffee. And I noticed her too, the way she brushed her hair absent-mindedly, the way her eyes softened when she smiled at me, the way her laugh echoed in my chest like a warm melody. Every moment felt both ordinary and extraordinary. One evening, a few weeks after Christmas, Harper and I found ourselves in Central Park. The snow had stopped falling, but the remnants of the storm clung to the branches and sidewalks, glittering under the street lamps. We walked slowly, our hands intertwined, leaving footprints behind us that the snow would soon cover. The air smelled crisp, tinged with pine and something indefinably clean and new. Harper looked up at the skyline, her scarf wrapped snugly around her neck. "I think winter is kind of perfect here," she said softly. I glanced at her, smiling. "Yeah, especially when you have someone to share it with." She turned to me, her eyes reflecting the golden city lights. "Emily," she murmured, "sometimes I still can't believe this." I squeezed her hand. "Me neither. But I'm glad we do." Her smile deepened, tinged with mischief. "You know, we really should make this official." I raised an eyebrow. "Official? Aren't we already official?" She laughed, a sound so full and genuine it made my heart skip. "No, I mean really official. Everyone should know that you're mine. I felt my chest tighten, a mix of nervousness and excitement. Mine? Her gaze was steady, unwavering. Yes, only mine. I laughed softly, leaning into her warmth. Then I guess I'll have to make the announcement too. Don't want anyone else trying to steal you. She nudged me playfully. Good luck with that. But beneath the playful banter, there was a seriousness in her tone that made me pause. She cupped my face in her hands, her thumbs brushing lightly over my cheeks. Emily, I mean it. I want everyone to know how much I love you. Not just me but the whole world. My heart ached with happiness, and I felt tears prick at the corners of my eyes. I love you too, Harper, I whispered. More than I've ever loved anyone. She smiled, leaning in to kiss me gently, the snow crunching beneath our feet, the city lights framing our embrace. It was soft, tender, and infinite, the kind of kiss that made everything else disappear. The days turned into weeks, and our relationship grew stronger with each passing moment. Work was still hectic, but we found ways to support each other. Harper would drop by the office with coffee, and a smile just when I needed it most. I started leaving little notes in her coat pocket or under her laptop keyboard, little reminders that I was thinking of her, even when we were apart. One Friday evening, Harper surprised me with tickets to a winter art exhibition. She knew how much I loved photography, and she wanted to share it with me. As we wandered through the gallery, marveling at the frozen landscapes and portraits capturing fleeting human emotions, I realized how perfectly we complemented each other. She brought calm where I had chaos. I brought laughter where she had quiet contemplation. Together we balanced one another, filling in the gaps we hadn't known existed. Afterward, we walked back through the snow-covered streets, our breaths visible in the chilly air. Harper suddenly stopped and looked at me, her eyes serious now, the playful smile replaced by something more profound. Emily, there's something I've been meaning to ask you. My stomach fluttered. What is it? She took both of my hands, her gaze unwavering. Will you move in with me? I froze, my heart racing. The thought had crossed my mind countless times, but hearing her ask made it real, tangible, thrilling. Yes, I whispered, my voice shaking a little with excitement. Her face lit up, and she pulled me into a hug that made the world feel safe and warm. I've been dreaming about this for so long, she said, burying her face in my shoulder. We spent that weekend packing, laughing at our mismatched taste in furniture, arguing over which way the couch should face, and discovering that living together was just as magical as we had imagined. Every evening we cooked dinner together, shared stories about our day, and curled up on the couch with blankets and hot chocolate. One evening, as snow fell outside the apartment window, Harper rested her head on my chest, and I traced patterns on her back with my fingers. You know, she murmured, I never thought a Christmas lie could lead to this. I laughed softly, pressing a kiss to her hair. Neither did I. But I'm grateful it did. She lifted her head, eyes twinkling with emotion. Me too. I wouldn't trade this for anything. The months passed and our bond deepened. We celebrated birthdays, anniversaries, and every small milestone with the same excitement we had felt during our first snowy Christmas together. Harper's laughter became my favorite sound, her touch my safest place. The lie that had started it all became a distant memory, overshadowed by the authenticity of our love. One spring evening, as the first blossoms appeared in Central Park, Harper and I found ourselves sitting on a bench, watching the petals drift on the wind. She reached into her bag and pulled out a small wrapped box. For me? I asked, smiling. She nodded, her eyes shining. Open it. Inside was a delicate silver necklace, a small heart-shaped pendant. I looked up at her, touched beyond words. It's beautiful. She smiled, brushing a strand of hair from my face. Not as beautiful as you. I laughed softly, my fingers brushing hers. Harper. She leaned in, resting her forehead against mine. I love you, Emily. Completely. I closed my eyes, savoring the moment. I love you too, Harper. More than I ever thought possible. The seasons changed, and with each one our love grew stronger. We traveled together, explored new cities, and even adopted a tiny golden retriever named Snowflake, who quickly became the center of our little family. Each holiday, each milestone became a testament to the strength of our bond, a reminder that love could bloom from the most unexpected places. By the next Christmas, our relationship had become a story of its own, one we shared with laughter and joy. We hosted a small gathering at our apartment, surrounded by friends and family, with the smell of pine and cinnamon filling the air. As Harper and I stood together by the tree, watching our loved ones mingle and laugh, I realized how far we had come. From a lie told in panic to a love that felt more real than anything I had ever known. From embarrassment and fear to warmth, trust, and unwavering devotion. Harper had become not just my partner, but my home, my heart, my future. Later that evening, as the city lights twinkled through the window and the snow fell softly outside, Harper pulled me close, her arms wrapping around me in a way that made the world feel right. "Merry Christmas," she whispered. I pressed my lips to hers, smiling. "Merry Christmas, Harper. And here's to many more honest, beautiful, and ours." We stood there, in the glow of the tree lights, the snow drifting lazily beyond the window, hearts intertwined. The lie that had once caused panic and embarrassment had become the bridge to something far more beautiful: truth, love, and a lifetime of shared moments. And as we kissed beneath the twinkling lights, I knew without a doubt that this was only the beginning of our story. A story not of lies or misunderstandings, but of love found in the most unexpected way. And it was real. Completely. Beautifully. Forever. Thank you for listening. Like and subscribe to get notifications about next videos.